Cisco.
All
Yo.
right,
Yo,
David.
what's going on?
Okay,
David.
is this working now?
I think so,
Yes.
brother. What's going on
Okay.
in Canada, bro? Why the internet don't work in Canada, brother?
I
What the
I
fuck?
have no idea. I couldn't tell you. Sorry about that. I hope this works here.
Hey, David, before we begin, we got Kundalini Kiwi asking, going through a breakup, how do I grow self-worth and not feel attached to being chosen?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, do you want me to answer it right now?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
We're
Yeah,
starting
perfect.
Meat and
live session
potatoes.
11, guys. Let's go. Repost the room where this is going to be a crazy night, guys. Let's go.
Going through a breakup and trying to find your self-worth so you don't want to attach to being chosen. I think you have to ask yourself, do you choose yourself? I often say if you don't choose yourself, you lose yourself. So, and not quite often we look outside of us to be chosen because we're not actually choosing ourselves, because we don't really know who we are on a deep level. And I'm big on understanding what your values are. And when you can live in alignment with what your values are, you start to build purpose. You start to build that self-worth. You build self-trust. And there's a number of things that I'd recommend in terms of that, like keeping promises to yourself, I think is a really big one. But I often like to look at life as a mirror. And if it's like, hey, I'm not being chosen, well, it's like, hey, well, am I choosing myself? It's like that deep kind of shadow work, if you will, and just kind of using life as the teacher. So that's something that's really helped me in my life, because I've been there where, you go through a breakup and you're like, oh man, breakups suck. It sucks to be rejected or whatever. But I think they're also the greatest teachers as well. I think loss is a great teacher, and that's breakups, that's a loss. So, I think that's what I'd recommend, is get to know what your values are. Ask yourself, like, what do I want out of life? How do I know if I've lived my purpose? What is a fulfilling life to me? Outside of the story that your parents told you of who you had to be, or what society tells you need to be. It's kind of like what you posted on your poster today. Who are you when you're not trying to become anybody? And then you can get in touch with, what's most important to you, so that, I think, is the key for building self-worth, is you build yourself, your sense of self.
Mm.
Mm.
Hey, David. So this is a very interesting thing. So on the poster, I said, as you said, David, I said, who are you when you're not trying to become someone, right? That's kind of really
Yeah.
big question for you, right? And it's very interesting because I understand that very deeply, right? Because I've been through this process for the past 10 years, really, becoming the Vibe Samurai, right? And the interesting thing is, like, when I try to teach this concept to people, it's a little abstract. They're like, what do you mean, who am I? I'm a man, or I'm a father. Okay, you take that out. They're temporary. They could die. Then who are you? I'm a lawyer. You know what I mean? So, like, I felt frustrated as a teacher and a coach to kind of explain this idea. But so I wanted to ask you something, okay? And I made a video about this. So let's do this together. I think this will be interesting, right? And there's a point to kind of what I just said, okay? But let's go through this. I call it the eternal loop, right? So if you had to relive one experience over and over forever, and you will genuinely be happy, and you will never get tired of it, which one would you choose?
Oh man.
Take your time.
Can you
Take your
repeat the
time,
second
brother.
option again? Can you repeat the options?
There was no second option, brother.
Yeah. No, I the first thing that came to mind was, I love going to Maui and just spending time in Maui with my family. Yeah.
So you would put that on loop, just time with your family, that moment where you're just hanging out and chilling with your family.
Or just, yeah, just being in nature. Just that came to mind, is just being on the beach, quiet. There's not many people around. That just that feeling of calmness, sereneness, peace. I mean, I love the sun, so there's some of those external things as well, but it's more of that feeling of peace, love, just that sense of enrichment in life. I'm in a place that I love with people that I love.
Abundance.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely, for sure. Yeah, it's more of a feeling than. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Maui. I love my family and stuff, but it's the feelings those things that I get from those things.
Bro, so we're not talking about experiences. We're not talking about family or place. We're talking about states.
Yeah.
Everything that you just said, peace, love, enrichment, these are states. Abundance state, right? You're not, it's not about the family. The family and Maui are the vehicle for you
Absolutely.
to get it. They're the ones who set up the conditions for you to feel this peace, love, enrichment, abundance, which is your true self. That is your core.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. That's
That's a
awesome.
video.
How'd you come up with that?
AI.
Respect.
Bro, I'm telling you the truth. Hey, David, just to let you know, I mean, I prepare like a long time for this call, and I'm talking about you for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours with AI. I'm going through
Okay.
your videos. I'm like thinking about your videos. I'm watching I have my own thoughts, and I say, hey, that's an interesting question, huh? AI, that David said this. Oh, do you think it's blah blah blah? And so, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Well, I
yeah.
mean, it's great. Yeah, I love that. That's a really good way of kind of leading a person back to themselves.
Right. But isn't that
Yeah.
interesting? Everybody, what do you think explains this? Why do you think some people say peace, love, enrichment, about what you just said? Another guy I talked to, very interesting. He's like, was a football player.
Mhm.
And his thing was like, when he was 26, he was 40. And he would loop that moment. Why? Because he was a football player. It was very competitive. The brotherhood, the stuff that was going on, the locker room, the anticipation, the excitement, the collaboration, the competition, right? And the thing about that is he talks about it as grief, right? Because he has not
Mm.
been able to reproduce that state. But for him, his state is brotherhood, teamwork, mission toward goal, which is very different than what you emphasize, right? And then mothers, I saw a lot of comments, mothers saying, when my child was born, and so there's definitely
Yeah.
a lot of those, but it just
Yeah.
was like all over the place. So I don't know what that means. You know what I mean? Like it's like so unique that, you know what I mean?
Maybe it's just, yeah, I don't know. I think and it's probably pretty complex and a lot of nuance to it, but maybe it's where that person, obviously where that person felt a really strong sense of self or a strong sense of connection to something that they thought was bigger than themselves. A mother reliving the birth of her child. I mean, she's not that person that she was anymore. Now
Mm-hmm.
she's a mother. She's just brought another human onto this planet. This other gentleman, it wasn't just about him. It was about that brotherhood. It was about him playing for something bigger than himself. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know.
Mm.
I think as humans, we're often looking for something that's bigger, Like, what am I
Mm.
doing here?
Mm.
Well, like,
Mm-hmm.
what's the purpose of all this? Why, what, like, of life, or, am I just here to pay bills and buy nice things, or, whatever? So I think that's, philosophy. I think that's where a lot of those streams of thought come from, is just like,
Mm-hmm.
you're taking yourself out of yourself. You're thinking bigger. You're thinking outside the box a little bit. And maybe that's why these people felt that way.
Mm. Wow. Hey, David, can you teach? That was amazing, by the way. Hey, David, Cisco, he always gets nervous before one of these shows because, a lot
Okay.
of people watch and, now we're growing.
You
We
too,
had to,
bro.
I get nervous a little bit. But I'm the vibe samurai, bro. You know what it is with me? I know how to work with my nervousness. I
Yeah,
enjoy the nervousness.
yeah.
I
I'm new
actually,
to
when I'm
this.
like nervous, I'm actually enjoying it. Like, like
Mm,
when, like I saw this tennis player, this elite tennis player saying that people are saying, oh man, you work so hard and it's so painful. And he said, I learned to enjoy the pain, drink tea with the pain, So now I'm just drinking tea with the nervousness. Cool. You're here? Oh
Yeah.
man. I got the sensation. Oh, cool, cool. Nervousness? Cool, cool. I know what's gonna happen in Vibe Sesh. We're gonna fucking kill it. Right? Like always,
hmm
always. It's always the best Vibe Sesh ever. Right? So
hmm
and that's the other thing. Like I'm learning to trust the universe more and more. Just
Yeah.
surrendering, bro, to the
Yeah. Yeah.
uncertainty and shit. And it's so liberating, man. Liberating. But David,
Yeah.
we get nervous. Do you have any breathing techniques for us or something?
I mean, yeah, no, I agree with you, Bruno. I think the getting nervous isn't a bad thing. It's showing that you're expanding outside your comfort zone. And I think a lot
Mm.
of times it's just you're trying to keep yourself safe. Because I mean, I'm sure with that nervousness comes, well, I don't know if I can do this, the excuses of why you can't do it or why you shouldn't do it or
Mhm.
whatever. And the mind is very cunning in that way. And the nervous system is very intelligent in the way that it does try to keep you safe, because that's really all it's always trying to ask is
Mhm.
scanning, am I safe? And each person has their own unique story and their own nervous system has gone through certain things that has led them to believe that certain situations aren't going to be safe. So I'm going to be rejected, or I'm going to be shamed, or I'm going to, whatever it is,
Mhm. Mhm.
and it's going to show up over and over again until you learn to regulate yourself. So, you talk about specific breathing exercises. My big thing is just come back to awareness. And I say that like it's easy, and it's like, oh, well, just come back to awareness and your nervousness
Yeah.
will go away. It's
Yeah.
not,
What does
it's
that
not,
mean? Yeah, it's
it's,
not easy.
yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, no, for sure. For sure. And I always, I mean, I'm a personal trainer as well. So I like to use gym analogies. And, when a person is experiencing anxiousness or nervousness, and overcoming that in the moment is like going into the gym on your first day and being like, okay, I'm going to squat 400 pounds. Well, unless you're a genetic freak, that's probably not going to happen. So what you have
Mhm.
to do is you build up to something like that. You build
Mm.
up to being able to manage that nervousness or that anxiety. And you do that through practicing mindfulness on a regular basis, slowing down, pausing. Meditation, I think it has been by far the most powerful practice that I've ever implemented in my life. And
Me
I've
too.
been
The
working
best
out.
lesson of my entire life. If I had to teach one thing to young
Yeah.
Cisco, 26 years old, who's very resistant to meditation, that's the one I would say. Meditate, bro. I wish I meditated. Started meditating at 40. I'm just like a
Okay.
late bloomer all around. I should have been
I
the
thought
Vibe
I
Samurai.
thought you were 35.
Ah, the Superman saying this. He could be the Canadian Superman, I think. But he can't be USA Superman, but he can be the Canadian version, bro.
Yeah.
Oh
I hear you
man.
though. There's a lot of people get a lot of resistance when they
Mm.
hear the word meditation. I used to think meditation was this woo woo stupid thing. Like I
Mm.
never used to be into any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we thought it was
And
woo and stupid. How stupid
yeah,
are we? We literally woo woo.
yeah.
It's
Well,
the
that's
most
why.
life-changing thing on the fucking. And we're like, "Ooh."
Yeah,
At one point, we were that,
yeah,
right?
exactly, exactly.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, the way I would, if I was going to explain meditation to myself,
Mm.
the
Hmm.
20-year-old version of me that was like, ah, it's dumb or whatever,
Yeah.
I'd say, okay, do you want to be able to actually master yourself, or do you want your emotions to control you in life? Do you want to be triggered? Do you want to be dragged around or be pulled around like a leaf blowing in the wind with no control over yourself? And if the answer is no, then the solution is to be able to meditate and master yourself, just to come back to
Mm.
awareness and
Mm.
observe. Learn to separate your awareness from the thought, the emotion, the compulsion. whatever it is. And it'll help you break bad habits. It'll help you to remain calm when you're nervous.
But David, if I'm 20, I'm not listening to that though. You know
Oh,
what I'm
that's
saying?
just
I'm
it.
like,
That's it.
no, but I feel like, let's say, this is a very interesting exercise. Let's say we went back to our 20s. You were meeting 20-year-old David. I was meeting 20-year-old Vibe Samurai, right? Like, how would we explain meditation to the point where they actually accept it and be like, holy shit, I'm going to do it, right? Like the way you said it, I'd be like, what? You know, it's like kind of science-y. You know, you have to understand, as opposed to saying, hey, man, if you don't fucking meditate, a lot of bad shit could happen. You could get married
I
to
would
the
say
wrong
as a young
woman and
person,
this
Yeah.
and right, you know, like all of that. You could lose money, bad investments, blah, 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 because you weren't aware. Bad relationships, right? I mean, there's consequences, but I don't know.
100%. No, for sure. And what I would say to that is you have to get in the mind of your past self, of my past self, understand what they're struggling with. Hey, Vibe Samurai 30 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever it is, what's going on in your life? Like, what are you struggling with? And, I'm struggling with these things. Okay, yeah. Like, well, and then you start leading them back into awareness, or start asking them questions that can lead them back to awareness, kind of like what you asked me. You're leading people back to themselves. It's not necessarily about, that's what I've learned is, I mean, I'm sure you've learned the same thing. You seem like a great teacher. And teaching is less about telling people what to do than to ask them the right questions that can actually get them to lead them to that, and so they can figure it out for themselves. It's a very delicate balance, I find, because and I've been there before. Like, I when I started getting into fitness and working out and stuff like that, I have two sisters, and one of them was trying to get into fitness and losing weight and stuff, and I'd see her she'd always tell me, I want to do this and that, I want to lose weight and go to the gym, but then she'd eat crappy food. So what I did, I would tell her, hey, you can't be eating that stuff. But all that does is create resistance. You're just creating resistance for that person.
Right.
So
that's what I'm saying.
Exactly. So you have to
then my way
allow
is the
them.
wrong way. Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Totally.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to learn. Yeah, we got to be gentle with 20-year-old Bruno. You're right. He would not have liked that, actually. He would, because my brother was saying that. My parents were saying that. If you don't do this and this, you're gonna be poor. You're
Totally.
gonna blah blah blah.
Totally.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's being able to ask the right questions at the right time, and allowing a person space to be where they are without judgment, without being like, you're not supposed to be here. Because if you think about yourself, if you have that internal critic of, I need to be this, I need to perfect this outcome needs to be reached. If not, these bad things are going to happen. What happens? You start to feel nervous. You start to feel shut down within yourself. You start to try to force things. Your nervous system starts to get out of sync. You start to get like tunnel vision. You're not very clear-minded anymore. You're not present. Whereas if you can allow yourself the space, like you were saying, to just allow things to happen, but in order to do that, that's where that skill of, can you allow the nervousness to be there and, drink tea with it, as you were saying, without identifying with it, with allowing it to be there, allowing space for it in awareness. And then through that, you yourself can show up more regulated, present. It doesn't control you anymore,
Right.
So I think that's a very important tool to use with ourselves, and it's helped me. But then also in a coaching or teaching setting as well, I think that's a very impactful thing to do too, and that took me a long time to learn, and I'm still learning.
Yeah. So David, we got a question below here from Melanie, she's a Vibe Samurai as well. And she asks, can David provide his background and what he teaches? But before let's answer that through what I wanted to ask you. Okay. So
Yeah.
David, I've watched a lot of your videos and they're all pointing to presence, right? But people, you talk about presence, and I'm a presence guy too. I'm a vibes guy, as you know. I'm the vibe samurai, right? And so we're not born this way. So what interrupted your old life for you to become the David that you are now. Now, you also, one of your videos, you talk about, you titled it, The Most Important Lesson I Learned. And it was about your dad and the Ozarks. And that was like
Oh, yes.
that was very emotional for me. So I'm wondering if that was the beginning of David or not. But why
No.
don't you tell us the whole story? Yeah, with your video that you made. Yeah, I would
So
love. Mhm.
it's funny. Like I think that suffering, hardship, they're actually gifts in life, and they are things that lead us back to ourselves, because in the end, we are the ones that create a lot of our own suffering. And that's a tough thing to hear, especially, it's not like when my dad passed away, for example. I was like, well, he passed away. You're going to experience these things. But there's a really good quote that I like. It's that pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. And so, yes, through breakups or through different, inconveniences, hardships, whatever it is, that pain is going to be there. Just like the nervousness will be there when you are getting outside your comfort zone. We're human. That's not a bad thing. Trying to push it away is only going to make it stronger. What you resist persists. So having that understanding of that hardship and suffering, are actually gifts. That's what led me to on this path, I guess. It was before my dad passed away. I went through a breakup, and I was trying to figure out, what do I want to do in life, because I was going to do a program, an osteopathy program, when I was finished my kinesiology degree. And I withdrew from that program because I just didn't feel passionate about it. And my whole world was kind of turned upside down. It was a girl I was dating for 3 years, a program I thought I was going to do, a career I thought I was going to do. My parents were always telling me, when you're done your degree, you go to school, you get another degree or master's or whatever. And none of that stuff was happening. So I'm like, okay, what the hell am I going to do here? So I actually sought out a mentor. And it was a client of mine, actually. I work at a club here in Calgary. She was a pretty successful entrepreneur. And I was like, hey, I think I want to get into business. Would you be able to be my mentor? And she said, absolutely. But in order for you to be good in business, you have to be good with people. And for you to be good with people, you have to know yourself. And I'm like, hell yeah. Okay. I'll know myself inside and out. So again, wow. She dropped little breadcrumbs leading me back to me. Very great teacher, and I'm super grateful for her. And that was the start.
Leading him back to him. Oh, wow. Leading him back to him.
So she asked good questions. She didn't just tell you. Was it that kind of?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. So that's what led me on the path to meditation and stuff. I've always been like a pretty philosophical or introspective kind of guy. Again, asking what's the purpose of all of this? Asking about God and, what else is out there and all that kind of stuff. And so that I think that definitely helps, being reflective or introspective. But that was what led me into meditation. And with that, with my kind of wanting to kind of help people in a different way other than just, like osteopathy or more manual therapy based stuff, I knew I wanted to inspire people or empower people or uplift people. I didn't know what that looked like. But the more I got to know myself through meditation and through awareness, the more that path became clear. And I still continued to personal train, but then I started getting more into health coaching and nutrition. And from nutrition and stuff, I started to learn, well, you can make someone a meal plan. You can give a person a fish and they'll eat for a day, or you can teach a person to fish and they'll eat for a lifetime. And that comes down to emotions. That comes down to understanding yourself. And what it ultimately was for me was, how can I help people live a more fulfilling, healthy, peaceful, impactful life, whatever that looks like for them. And so,
damn, that's such a good place to start, bro. That's your values right there. And as long as you know them and you believe them, you're going to start attracting that, because that's all you're seeing, right?
Yeah, totally. Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest thing that I think when it comes to personal growth or learning this kind of stuff, people often ask me, like, what books would you recommend? And there are books that I'd recommend, but the most like profoundly impactful thing that I can tell someone to do is live in practice with what you know. A book it's like you can read a book about how to shoot a basketball and you can learn all the theories about it. But until you actually get your hands on a ball, shoot it, make a mistake, and do that 1,000 times, you're not actually going to know how to shoot a basketball. So it's in the heat of the moment when you're triggered, when you're nervous, when you're anxious, when you're frustrated, when you're uncomfortable, those are the moments that you can come back to yourself. And I call them the weights of life, because quite often
weighted
when we're going,
weighted challenges, right?
Exactly.
That's Matt McDonough from X, bro. He called it weighted challenges. You remember?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, but you tell me, because I never got to talk to him about it. But explain it in your way. Yeah, these things that.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, if you've ever done a physical challenge, you've lifted weights, you've gone for a run, and you feel weak. Yeah, like you're going for this run. I hate cardio personally. So when I go for a jog, it sucks. Or if you're lifting weights and you push yourself in that weak point where you're like, oh, I don't know if I can get this up, and you push through and you do it. That's actually when you're getting stronger. When you are feeling the weakest, that's when you're getting fitter, right? It's the same thing with this kind of stuff. It's when you're triggered that you're aware of it and you can make a different choice. That's actually when you're going to create the most growth. Not when you're comfortable on your couch reading your book or whatever. And I'm not saying books are a bad thing or podcasts are a bad thing or anything like that. But again, it's leading people back to themselves in the moment.
Wow.
You know,
David, so you know Viktor Frankl, right?
Yeah, I'm aware of who he is. I've started the book Man Search Meaning, but I never finished it.
Bro, because you just basically quoted him.
Oh,
So I'm going to tell you, like, so the way we were talking about, how do you define meditation, right? So for me, there's many ways to describe meditation, right? But for me, the one that I resonate with most is what Viktor Frankl said. So he wrote Man's Search for Meaning. He was a Holocaust survivor, and he was in a Holocaust camp for 2 years. All right. So, and they killed all his family, and he ended up surviving and thriving. Right. And so he says that between stimulus and response, there is a gap. And in that gap lies your freedom to choose. And in that freedom, that allows growth.
Yes.
That's what he said. And you
absolutely
said it from that, bro. He has the consciousness of Viktor Frankl, bro. This is
and the pain is inevitable, suffering is optional.
That's Buddha stuff right there, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to there's these deep truths that I think have stuck around over the years, and I personally don't subscribe to any religion or anything like that. I think there's truth in all of them. And so yeah, I think that they're there, and it's not like someone created this truth. But I think it's just they discovered it. You know, it's like you discover gravity. You discover these deep truths about human nature. You know.
Cisco, you've been very quiet. What's going on, bro? You enjoying the conversation?
He's meditating. He's like meditating. Let him be.
He's blown away by you, bro. He's like, who's this Morpheus dude? Canadian Morpheus.
I ask good questions and shit, to be honest. But I guess the question I would have is, I feel like with my nervous system, I get like a lot of extreme emotion, and like my nervousness or anxiety could be like, I need to take a shit, I need to vomit. Like I have these intense feelings that make me run or like shut down. So that's kind of a question open to either both of you or David. Like when you're in those moments, obviously it's finding that gap, the stimulus response gap, but it is so fucking hard. So fucking hard.
But bro, Cisco, the problem, Cisco, is that I told you that you got to start simple and just focus on your breath, bro. Like you got to start slow. Like you just like for the day one, it's just like the atomic habits start small, right?
Hmm.
So you're just like,
Mhm.
I'm literally gonna just sit down, and I'm just gonna sit down here for 5 seconds to count my breath. That's it. And then the next day, if that works, increase it to 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. And that's step one of like meditation. Just try to get that attention. If you start thinking about all kinds of other shit, don't judge yourself. Don't get mad. Don't create other emotions. Just gently bring it back to your breath again. And just that
Mhm.
practice alone, bro, your life is going to change. If you're able to master it and get it to 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 4 minute, five
Yeah.
minute, bro,
So
you're
you're saying
seeing
like the
the, you're,
compounding of
yeah.
that helps when the moment happens, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but because
It,
right
it's
now you said that you can't even stay, you can't even sit still. You told me, right, Cisco? You can't sit still
Yeah,
doing
it's
the
like pit in
meditation.
my stomach, my heart, like
Wow.
tremendous fucking crazy shit. It shuts me down. And you have to like numb
yeah.
yourself out or do something to like change your state. Like bad
So
shit. Like
yeah, and I mean, so that you basically when you're scared or you're in this fight or flight response. That's what it is. It's like imagine if you're being chased by a bear. You're in a fight or flight response. Now the difference is your brain is creating that brain scare, if you will. Like
there.
it's thinking that you're getting chased by a bear, but you're not. So there's flight, so you feel like you're going to run away. There's freeze, where you feel like you just got to shut down. And quite often, what we do is we stimulate ourselves, we distract ourselves. We have our specific coping mechanisms that have helped us to, soothe or regulate. And I think the most powerful thing that a person can do, and it's again, it's like that 400-pound squat, but you build up to it, is
Mm.
are you able to sit with it and not and be with it in that moment? Now, depending on where a person is
That's
on that
beautiful.
spectrum in terms of like how severe it is, that might not be the most advisable thing for some people to do.
Mm.
And I'm not a therapist, so like maybe a therapist would have something better to offer. In my life,
Bro,
it's
you're
helped.
good, bro. This is good advice right here, bro.
Therapy
Yeah,
sesh.
yeah,
Therapy.
yeah. In my life, being able to sit with myself and breathe
Mm,
in awareness is what has actually allowed me the capacity to manage that. There was a time when I had never in a million years would have gotten on live. This is actually the very first live I've ever done in my life, by the way.
Hey,
And you know
Cisco,
what's
tell them
funny?
about the lurkers, bro. Tell them we always get new people. All the new people want to get the vibes. They
Yeah.
want to, because they feel so
We
safe
popped
in
the
this
live
presence.
cherry.
That's right,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, right,
yeah.
David. What are you thinking about the vibe? This is Vibe Session 11. 11. I've been seeing 11 everywhere, so I feel like the universe is blinking at me.
I got a funny synchronicity because I know you've been talking about that lately. The very first time I ever slid in a bobsleigh, they flipped it over, and it was number 11. And it was just kind of interesting when I saw that. And so that was like a new chapter of my life, obviously, getting into that sport. So it is kind of interesting that this was number 11 vibe session. Kind of
Wow.
interesting. Yeah.
That's insane of a
Bro,
synchronicity.
bro, I've been seeing 11 everywhere today, bro. What the hell is
Wow.
going on? I got to
Yeah.
report on this in the next video. I got to replay this. Remind me. Let me take some notes. Video number the
But I think a
11
little bit to get
synchronicity.
back to Melanie asking his background, you should talk about the bobsledding.
Wait,
Oh,
so
right. Yeah.
first of all, David, we are mainly Americans here, so we say bobsled. We don't say
Oh,
bobsleigh like in Canada. They say
bobsled.
bobsled.
Sorry.
I was calling it bobsled, and then I got corrected by someone on the team. They're like, "Oh, it's actually bobsleigh." I was like, "Okay."
Oh, we
Fuck,
gotta hear this
tomatoes,
story.
tomatoes, like I
Tomatoes,
think everyone's gonna know
tomatoes.
what I'm doing. They're not gonna think that I'm sliding face first on a skeleton.
Bro. So let's talk about this because I'm really obsessed with synchronicity. Also, I'm becoming obsessed with awe and wonder. Okay, a lot of my friends and other men, when they DM me, they're like, bro. They don't say like, you're famous. You have so many. They're like, bro, where do I get this like wonderment and awe that you're going through? Right? Because every day, just being here with, I'm like, what are we doing here? This is an amazing conversation. I'm just so much awe. And synchronicity is like, you know, when things start happening, you're like, oh, wow, awe, wonder.
Yeah.
And more
Right.
research is showing that awe and wonder is very, very important. This is like literally new science. Past 10 years, they've been talking about awe and wonder. And now, because of different synchronicities, I'm reading this book, Synchronicity Highways, right? And
Okay.
I want to make a series of videos here. But talking about synchronicity, why don't you tell us your bobsled story? How did you're a Canadian bobsledder. How did you, that whole story, because you talk about it on your profile. So if you guys want the detail, go to his account, follow David and check out his story. He has it pinned. But you talk about that bobsled story, and I was just like, wow, this is like super synchronicity. And like, how bobsled, right? Like, you're a personal trainer, coach, and then all of a sudden, tell us the story. Tell us that story.
Yeah. So a really cool story, actually. Like, and it's a testament to me that, you know, always follow your heart, always, and don't think that it can't happen. So in high school, I was a track and field athlete. And I did football, and I always wanted to bobsleds with the dogs.
That's what I'm saying. You're like fucking the reindeers. That's a sleigh, right? Santa and the fucking Rudolph and the reindeer. Bro,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
Sleigh. Imagine the fucking, he's competing in the Olympics in a fucking reindeer sled
Yeah.
and stuff. Sleigh. Oh man. Yeah.
So in high school, I was an athlete, and I wanted to compete after high school, and I got invited to a spring camp at a university here in Canada, and I wasn't able to go. I got injured, and that kind of ended the whole thing. But I always felt like I had some sort of athletic potential, or it was always my identity to be an athlete. I strongly believe that within myself, that like, no, I have this athletic potential and whatever else. So, you know, that I'm 18, graduate high school, whatever. I go through a couple years of post-secondary. I was in sciences. I absolutely hated it with a passion. And I withdrew from that, and I switched over to kinesiology because I was like, you know, I like sports and stuff like that.
What's kinesiology?
Kinesiology is like exercise science. You understand? It's exercise physiology, anatomy. It's all everything mind, like body, mind, physical health, that kind of stuff. And so, I switched over to kines, and during that time, I saw a number of people that I had graduated with, and they were doing pretty cool things with sport. Like, there was a girl in my grad class. She got like rookie of the year that year down in the States for track and field. Like, she was doing really cool stuff. There's other people that I knew. I'm like, man, like, I was really proud of them. And I was like, I just felt like it was showing me that where I had fallen short, or where I thought I'd fallen short. And so I'm like, what can I do? And no, it's not bobsleigh. I got into CrossFit, actually, because I was like, I'll CrossFit. It's like kind of like a sport. It's something I can do to better myself. And I did it, and I loved it. I fell in love with fitness. That was me falling in love with fitness. And then fast forward 2 years, like, yeah. And there's things that I like about it. There's things I don't like about it over my time working in this field and stuff like that. But fast forward, 10 years. At this point, I've been personal training for 3 or 4 years. I'm 27. And it was during COVID, and I'm on the track because gyms are kind of open, closed, whatever. And I'm on the track doing some sprints, and I'm there with a coworker, a buddy of mine, and I see these guys on the track, and I've never seen athletes like this before in my life. They're built like linebackers, but they can sprint like 100-meter athletes. And I'm like, what the hell are these guys? Are these like the Calgary Stampeders, our football team here, whatever? And my friend's like, no, those are the bobsledders. I was like, okay, so that's my intro to bobsled. I'm like, holy shit. And so keep kind of doing my thing on the track that summer. The next summer, I see a couple of female athletes on the track with their coach. I didn't know what sport they were playing, but they're like, I saw them a few times, and finally they're like, hey, what sport are you training for? I'm just like, I'm just kind of doing this for fun. I'm a personal trainer. They're like, oh, you should come try out for the bobsleigh team. And I was
why
like,
would they say that? Why would they ask you? Like, what were they seeing in you?
They must have thought that I was doing sprints. So they must have thought that I was a fast runner, that I would have been a good fit to try out for the team. So I was like, as soon as they asked me, yeah, exactly.
There you have,
I was actually about.
Show us your quads. Show us your quads. Show us your quads. Come on, let's get this live up to 100 concurrents.
Yeah, exactly. 11, up to 11.
11, 11, 11.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Synchronicities. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So as soon as they asked me, something just lit up inside of me. I was like, I don't, it was just,
Bro,
I was like,
that's
I have to
crazy.
do
They
this.
asked you. You didn't even know they were going to ask you right there and then. Or maybe
No,
you had a suspicion. Maybe you had a suspicion. Maybe
no, I
that's
had
you
no
were
idea.
right.
I didn't even know who
Maybe
these
you were
people
right.
were.
You know, to make sure. He was like making sure they're like, look at me.
Yeah, exactly.
Showing his quads
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah. Damn, you're flexible. Look at that. You really are a samurai, hey?
The samurais are flexible. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh man. That's crazy though.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I was just, I was like, I got to do this. And it kind of, I thought I was just like some washed up high school athlete at that point. Like I was, you know, my athletic career was over. And then I started training for it, and I went out to a spring camp that recruitment camp that fall, and that was 2021. So that was for their recruiting for the Olympic team. So I didn't get on the team that year, and I was like, you know, that's fine, whatever. But I was extremely humbled because I was like, how hard can pushing a sled be on ice? Holy shit. It is one of the most technical things that I've ever done in my life. It is truly an art. Sprinting properly is an art. I have so much respect for sprinters and
wow.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Sprinting
So
is an art. Holy
it
shit.
is, yeah.
Could
And it's funny.
Could you like walk us through a bobsled?
Yeah.
Like
What do we need to do? That's a great question. Yeah, walk us through that. What is it? Why do we have to sprint properly?
So you get on the block, and our home track here in Canada is Whistler. So that's the fastest track in the world. And you go to the top of this mountain, and Whistler is if you remember, Whistler is the track where that male luge athlete died in the 2010 games.
Oh, I remember that one.
So he was going down the track so fast, lost control, came out of the track, and he died, unfortunately. So I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I had never really watched the sport. I knew they pushed the sled, and that looked really cool, but I didn't watch it. So I didn't know what it was like going down the track. So I'm getting in the sled with this guy, and he was learning how to drive. This is my first time down in bobsleigh 11. So you're at the start, you're at the block, you're standing at slightly elevated over the ice so you can push off, and you start pushing the sled, and it's heavy, and you're like, oh shit. And Whistler is like this. It starts and then it just drops straight down. So you go from pushing a really heavy object to running faster than what you're capable of. Yeah, exactly. Faster than what you're capable of. That's the German team. They dominate the sport big time. I'm pretty sure they got gold for the last time on the
Show us the drop off, Cisco. The drop off.
Yeah,
look up. Y'all fit in here like that.
Damn. Yeah, that's 4 man. So that's what I did.
Yo, bro, but show us the drop off that he's talking about.
Look up Whistler bobsleigh track start.
Whistler bobsled track start.
Yeah, bobsled. Sorry.
So you're saying you go flat and then
well, it's not like that, but you know, you're running straight down, and not only that, but you're jumping into a sled, and you're putting your life in someone else's hands. You know, like literally that driver that's steering the sled, you don't have any control when you're sitting in the back of the sled. So you're hoping, and you don't get to see where you're going. When you're sitting in the sled, you're looking basically down between your legs. You're basically looking at your crotch or at the bottom of the sled, and praying to God that you don't crash. Yeah. Now, if you're interested, you can look up, if you go on YouTube and look up like bobsled run, like you can look up like what it looks like to be in the back of the sled, and it's such a rough ride. They actually have a term. It's called sled head, and it's from your head shaking constantly in the sled. You can actually get concussion-like symptoms. So there's a lot of like head injuries in sport.
Bro.
Yeah, it's crazy.
A documentary about this. Is there a good documentary? There is? Okay.
Well, sort of. So they did kind of like there's F1 Drive to Survive.
Yeah.
They did something like that on the Canadian bobsled team. Yeah,
wow.
this is
okay. That's good.
So I'm pretty sure this is the one where the guy. Yeah. So he's sitting in the back of the sled. Or no, this is the pilot. Sorry.
I did
But
Olympics channel.
Yeah. So this would be this is the pilot. So he's pushing. Yeah, you push. He's gonna get in first. Then
Bro,
the
back up
guy
a
who
little
I
bit.
would sit behind him.
Oh, whoa!
Yeah.
Dude, that looks steep. Bro, like,
Yeah.
how easy is it to lose control of this thing? How easy is it to,
Well, I
like,
didn't drive the sled, so all I know is that if they hit a wall, you feel it. Your head smashes off the side of the sled, and there's crashes. And you keep in mind, you're going, and some like Whistler, for example, you're going 150 plus kilometers an hour on ice. So if you flip and crash, we wear these things called burn vests because you're ripping here, and you know, reaction time, all that kind of stuff for the pilots. That's where they have to really be able to manage their mind and stuff like that, because this is obviously a tough skill to learn.
bro, how
But
is the driver driving? Like, where is he seeing from?
his head is outside of the sled right now, so his
No way!
feet are
His head
yeah
is outside the sled.
yeah.
But
So his feet are under the cowling here, and then he's got these things called D rings in his hands, and you can pull when each hand. So if you pull your right D ring, the runners on the sled will turn one way, and if you pull the left D ring, the runners will turn the other way.
Oh wow!
So the runners are kind of just like they're not like hockey blades, but they're metal and they're on the ice. It's a crazy sport. Like going down a bobsleigh is like being put in the trunk of a car. It's like being put in a garbage can and being kicked down the stairs and not knowing. You just get out and you're like, where the hell am I? It's crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's
amazing. Like a bullet train.
No, for sure. Yeah. They call it like F1 on ice. And I would definitely agree with that. It's a crazy sport.
Wow. Hey, I wanted to talk about another thing on my notes here. Hey, so you often say follow your heart. You're very big on follow your heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're also a nervous system guy, right? So, but what if your heart and your nervous system disagree?
I guess it all depends on what you feel, what you would define as following your heart.
You tell me.
Yeah. So I think that following your heart is like following your intuition, that calm, quiet voice inside of you. It's not the voice that shouts. And I find that you're much more able to get in touch with that when you are regulated. When you're dysregulated, you're living from fear. You're living from scarcity. You're living from lack. You're living from fight or flight. Again, your perception closes. So you're looking at life through tunnel vision of, oh my God, is there threats around? Whereas when you're regulated, when you're calm, again, like if I think about myself on the beach in Maui or after I meditate or whatever, you're relaxed. Like there's this clarity about you. You're not scared. You're not worried about what's going to happen tomorrow. And in that place, you can actually hear or feel what you're being pulled to do. And it's again, you can't, if you like look for it really hard, it's this weird paradox. If you look for it, you don't find it.
Yes.
The harder Rumi had a great quote, and it was, the quieter you get, the more you hear. And it's so true. And that's where that regulation comes in. It's being able to regulate yourself, because when you regulate, you're more aligned. You're aligned with, if you want to call it your higher self or whatever, to me, you're in touch with awareness, and awareness is your connection to something higher than your own logical, limited, self-concept, if you will. Yeah. And it's sometimes it's right in front of your nose, like, it's like, oh, well, where is it? I can't, what's this calling? You don't have to look that hard for it. If you're super out of touch with yourself, then it's going to be hard to feel that. But if the more you get in touch with you, the more you can slow down in this fast-paced world and learn to be bored. I think that's really important. The more overstimulated your mind is, the more you create this chaos, this clutter in your mind. And if think about if you had a cluttered house and you were looking for something really valuable, would you be able to find it?
No,
right?
Of course not. Yeah.
Right.
You
Yeah.
got that, Cisco? That was freaking amazing. Did you pay
Yeah.
attention, Cisco?
Sorry, repeat that. I was
Oh,
saying
come
thank you,
on,
Melanie.
bro.
Melanie was leaving. I was leaving a comment.
All right, Melanie.
Goodbye,
Yeah,
Melanie.
yeah. Good job,
She's a
Cisco.
vibe samurai, so I had
She's a
to
vibe samurai,
verify that.
or she's a vibe samurai.
Sorry,
Thank you,
sorry.
Melanie.
Repeat, please. Did you
Yeah,
forget
go
the
ahead.
quote?
Yeah, yeah.
Quote?
Can you explain that part too? This is very important. Yeah,
Sorry.
about like something being right in
I'm
front of your
present.
nose.
I'm present.
Okay, okay. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if your mind is very cluttered, you're going to be out of touch with yourself. You're going to be living from thought, which is usually the same thoughts that you were having yesterday, the same emotions you were having yesterday. You know, that's big on what, like, say, Joe Dispenza talks about. He thinks 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and most of those are the same thoughts as the day before. And the more we live in these
Wow.
compulsive patterns, the more you're going to just live from that autopilot way of being. But if you can start to get into basically a state of boredom is the way I would describe it in this day and age. Because nowadays you don't have to be bored. You can just hop on your phone, you can watch Netflix, you can eat food, you can do whatever you want to not be bored. But being bored allows you to get quiet. It allows things to stabilize, you know? And so that is where you will actually be able to get in touch with yourself, with that part of you that is really guiding you. And this is a very spiritual way of being, if you will, outlook. So not everyone would maybe agree with that, but that's the way that I've lived my life. And it's worked out. That's why I talk about it so much. And bobsleigh, my journey into that sport was because I was following my heart and following my passions on fitness. I was doing what I loved without any attachment to an outcome. And then through that, I ended up in parts of the world that I never thought I'd be, doing a sport that I never thought I'd be doing, competing at a level that I never thought I would. And it wasn't because I was like, oh, I'm going to try and get there. I'm going to force my way to get there.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Now, maybe if that would have been the case, maybe it still would have happened. I don't know. But all I know was that I didn't do that and it did happen.
Yeah.
So why do
You
we
were
always
in
feel
the
the need
vortex,
to
bro.
force?
You were in the vortex already. So they were
Yeah.
pulling you to bobsledding. You understand?
Yeah.
You were
Yeah.
so aligned that when and they took you, right? Like it pulled you
Yeah.
to bobsledding because you were already aligned. You were already very clear. You know what I'm saying? But the other thing, David, that you said that really, wow, like the whole thing, you need to be bored. See, because
Yeah.
for me, I always tell the story, it's like 10 years for me to discover the Vibe Samurai stuff, right? But so for so many years, I distracted myself, right? Like
Yeah.
vacations, girlfriends, all kinds of crazy shit, and just living a great life. And then it took boredom from that to be like,
Yeah.
what the fuck am I doing with my life? What am I doing? Right, literally, I'm like literally screaming that. This is the first time I'm saying that
Does
live.
hedonism always lead to that? Is that just what everyone ends up
I
like?
don't know, but some people can keep going. I don't know. But for me, I was just like, what the hell? And then I
Wow.
was like, always had the thing is, David, like,
Wow.
I've always had this the thing that I'm doing with Vibe Samurai, like listening to people, being a great listener, holding space, conversations, helping people recognize themselves. Like I was always interested in psychology from a very early age. But then like my parents, they're Asian. No, you need to make money. Psychology is a bad, like major, blah, blah, blah. And you need to go into business. So I kept putting it off and off and off and off. I wanted to be a therapist. I wanted to be a coach or whatever. I did well financially. So, I'm grateful, but I wasn't aligned, right? And it like took
Yeah.
little steps. I started teaching English, which was more aligned. And then I started an app. And then I ended up coaching, teaching international students because I speak 4 languages, right? So, and
Oh, okay.
yeah. And so I started a coaching business and that was very aligned. And from that experience, people started saying, hey, you need to create content, right? You're amazing, blah, blah, blah. And you hold space so well, you listen so well. And I was just like, I'm too old. What? I'm going to be on Instagram. How do I even make content? Right. Like, but it kept
Yeah.
pulling me. It kept pulling me. And the layers started ripping off to the point
Yeah.
January this year, I don't know what, the universe just pushed me to press record. And then I started recording on January 16th. And now, like, my
No
life
way.
is just, yeah. And now we're here. Vibe
Yeah.
session number 11, 11, 11, 11, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1.
Yeah. Here we
Right?
are. Love
But isn't
that.
that crazy?
Yeah.
I just had to follow my heart and I had to get clear. I
Yes.
had to
Yes.
get clear. And I
Yeah.
started late, guys. So it's never too late, guys. I'm 51. David is 30. Cisco's 25. You're already learning these lessons. I'm so jealous of you two young guys. I wish I'd learned these lessons before. So I would have been amazing, much more amazing human being if I knew all of this. But everything happens for a reason, guys. The Vibe Samurai was forged because of this, right? So
Mhm.
gratitude to everything. I feel
You're
abundant.
sharpening
Let's
the
go.
axe or the sword for the samurai. I think you're just sharpening, you know, because we also did on Twitter X. We've been doing spaces where it was only audio, and we've been doing that for a year. And then now with his January, he started posting. So a whole year he's been really working, and we've been hosting conversations, triple digits. Some when we had special guests, 4 digits. Those were the best.
Wow.
You know,
That's awesome.
and we've been, you know, I was an introvert too. Like,
Yeah.
I was a little lurker, and he's like, I just want a Gen Z opinion. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
liked me, and I've been co-hosting ever since, since
Oh,
that day.
okay.
So,
Yeah, that's
like,
awesome. I mean, I'm a big believer that, following your heart, I think it leads you to probably your most fulfilling life, but not necessarily your most comfortable life in the moment, because it's going to push you to get outside your comfort zone. That higher version of yourself that is living the life that is truly fulfilling or whatever is probably they're doing things that the current version of you is uncomfortable or you're scared to do, and so it's probably going to lead you into being nervous or pressing record when you're like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to say, or whatever it is, but it really is the path. I always say the mountain is you. It's when you can overcome that obstacle. It's like when there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do no harm. When you can overcome yourself, there's nothing that will hold you back. You're the only thing that holds you back. And you mentioned something interesting about how you distracted yourself, and I think that's something that a lot of us fall into. And it's actually a quote that Viktor Frankl had, and he said, "When a person lacks purpose, they distract themselves with pleasure." So, yeah.
Holy shit.
I think it's very true.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. That's what I was
Yeah.
doing. No, I should have read Viktor Frankl
you
before.
explained Gen Z right there.
Yeah.
Gen Z right there.
But it's easy, it's easier to do that than it is to sit and be bored and not know what you're going to do, or do the uncomfortable thing, the inconvenient thing, whatever it is. And that's why I think it's so important to do things that are difficult on a regular basis, and expand your ability to withstand those things. Whether it's just, okay, I'm going to sit down and do nothing. I'm not going to be on my phone. I'm not going to do anything for 10 minutes a day. Whatever it is for each person, maybe it's doing a workout. I like doing a cold shower every morning because it's like, can I just sit and observe the discomfort of being cold and not do anything about it for a couple minutes? And you're just building that muscle of like sitting with discomfort. I think it's a super valuable muscle to build it within ourselves,
Yeah. David, so you're a fitness guy. My alignment is being the Vibe Samurai. I really feel like I found what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life, right? So what's interesting about this is, like, I made a video about this, and I was saying, I saw some different people saying this, but basically, like, a mountain is just a mountain. It doesn't know what else to be. It's just a mountain, right? A tree doesn't know anything else but to just grow, right? I mean, every day it just gets up and it's just going to grow. And the sun doesn't know anything but to just be the sun and throw sunlight every day, right? It's all nature, right? And so we human beings, we're all part of nature. We're animals, right? But the interesting thing with us is we don't have this one purpose. like to shine, or the birds singing, or the mountain being a mountain. Like, we're all so different, right?
Mm.
And I'm wondering, like, do you think that just all of, I feel like all of us have come with something, born. We were born
Hmm.
to do things. We're born to have a specific purpose. That's what I'm
Hmm.
feeling from all this experience, because you were attracted to fitness, to CrossFit, and everything that is around that. And for me, it's this conversation and helping people recognize themselves. And you know like, isn't that interesting that we all,
Totally.
do you feel like we all were born with a certain specific purpose?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I
Mm,
think we all share a similar purpose in that, like, the foundation of it would be to, you know, know thyself.
mm,
And because in coming back to you, you can actually begin to discover what that other purpose could be. If you're too busy looking outside of you, being like, okay, what trend is making the most money or will make the most money, or what do the girls like or the guys like, or what do my parents want me to do? You're never gonna be able to follow you to what is your purpose. And so, yeah, I think that we each have a unique set of gifts and skills and passions, and those things lead you to your unique purpose, if you will. It's kind of like that
mm,
notion of ikigai. It's like a
mm,
Japanese
mhm,
concept.
mhm,
What is it? It's like your purpose is like the intersection of what you're good at, what you're passionate about, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for, or something.
mhm,
Now, I think that's a good way of being able to look at it, for sure.
mhm,
But I'm a big proponent of, what are you good at and how can you serve other people? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, um, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that, what are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? And
mhm.
how could you serve other people? I think those are good questions to ask
Mm.
yourself in terms of,
How
um,
to serve
yeah,
other people. Interesting. Hey, because David, like, because I always think about it, like, especially in my experience, the way I like looking at it and telling people and explaining it to people is Michelangelo's David, right? You know the
yeah,
story, right? Like, he was like, I didn't sculpt
refresh my
David.
memory.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't sculpt, chisel out David. David was already in the rock. I was in the marble. I was just removing all the layers to expose David. He was already in the marble.
Yeah, I love that. Very cool.
That's
Amazing.
how I
Huh.
feel. I feel like all
Yeah.
of us have been born with a certain,
Yes.
like alignment,
Yes.
certain purpose, right? And it's
Yep.
just that, and that's the beautiful thing. That's why I was saying a bird's purpose is to sing. They only have one purpose. Like us humans, we're part of nature, but we all have our different little purposes that we
Mm.
need to execute in the world based on our God-given gifts, and blah blah blah, and everything that happens, right? So, but
Right.
it's just chiseling those things out. And that's why I was saying, when I was younger, like, I was really, my earliest memories was, I want to be an FBI agent profiling serial killers using psychology. Those are my
Oh, okay.
earliest memories, right? And I never got to really kind of express that until now. Like, I talk about
Yeah.
these things now, I'm helping people, coaching people, right? And so it's
Right.
all like removing the layers
Yeah.
to get here. So yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I think it's really about coming back to your most authentic self. That, I
Ooh, let's
mean,
talk
that,
about authenticity, baby. I was gonna just talk about that. Yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah, I mean, I think that will lead you to your most fulfilling or purposeful or meaningful life. I mean, I didn't read the book, but I keep on hearing this about that palliative care nurse that wrote a book on the biggest regrets of the dying. She interviewed
Mm-hmm.
people,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
elderly people, and the biggest regret she found was not living a life true to themselves. That they wish
Ooh.
that they didn't, live from fear or follow the crowd or do what other people thought they should do. And I think that it's really just not being authentic, not doing what you felt called to do deep down, because of whatever fear or shame that was holding you back. So, and then kind of goes back to developing that self-worth. When you can know who you are and
Mm.
follow that and live from that place, regardless of what other people think,
Mm.
you build a strong sense of self within. That's the foundation for authenticity. It's integrity, you know? So if you don't have that, you don't have, again, you're like that leaf blowing in the wind. You've got no internal guidance system guiding you and telling you like, hey, you know, how do I make this decision? I don't know. I don't know how to make that decision because I don't know what my values are. I don't know what I really want out of life. I don't know what I'm moving towards. And it's not like there's an outcome to reach or a destination to reach. It's like what Earl Nightingale said, success is the progressive realization of worthy ideals. You know, it's a process.
Mm.
It's a progressive realization of that. It's not a okay, when I make $1 million or when I have this house or whatever, then I'll be successful. Sure. Okay. Maybe. But I think that the real, for me anyways, in my life, and I really, really resonated with me when I heard him say that, it's the progressive realization of worthy ideals. What are your worthy ideals? What do you want to trade your life for? Because you can't go back. You can't redo it. So what do you actually want to trade your life for? Start doing that now. And in what ways can you do that? You know? So I think that's the foundation for authenticity. And I think authenticity ties into success or meaning or purpose or fulfillment.
So, David, because right now, a lot of people are talking about authenticity. It's a buzzword now, right? Like on social
Yeah.
media, you be authentic self, blah, blah, blah. What do you think like people are getting wrong? Do you feel like the discussion is good about authenticity, or some people are like faking authenticity too and crying on camera, that kind of stuff? So
Is
like how,
that authenticity?
what's that?
Is
But that's what I'm
faking
saying. So,
authenticity authentic?
let's define authenticity. What do you mean by authenticity? Because I've had this conversation with different people and like really older, wiser people. And here's one thing we were talking about. Check this
Yeah.
out, David. Actually, like Cisco said, we hosted a vibe session on X, and we used to get like really super smart people, wise people, old people. And one guy, I was talking about authenticity, and I was like, man, and during these vibe sessions, I feel really authentic. And he said to me, he said, how authentic do you feel? And I said, I don't know, like 80, 90%. Of course, I'm not going to tell you everything about me, but like 80, 90%. And this guy, he goes, maximum like 16%. You're being 16% authentic, right? And then we got into this discussion about what is authenticity. And the reason why he said I was 16% because he believes authenticity is radical honesty, radical transparency. So even like your dirtiest laundry, you put it out there and you say, whatever, like, criticize me, do whatever you want, and blah blah blah. Yeah, it doesn't really, resonate with
I don't
me
know. I
too.
mean,
Yeah, but
I
you
think you
tell
can.
me. Yeah, yeah.
I think you can be authentic without airing out all your dirty laundry. You know, I think it's just like it's knowing who you are and being and living from that place. Like if you don't feel like something is the right thing to do within your own self, like you're like,
Mm.
oh, I don't know, should I do this? Someone dropped, some money on the ground. They didn't see it. It wasn't that much. It's not a big deal. Do you pick it up or not? I don't know. I guess it depends on what your values are. I think like, were you being authentic to
Mhm.
yourself when you picked it up and gave it back to them? Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I think it's kind of a
Oh
weird
wow,
dilemma.
wow.
You can decide if what authenticity is. It's not something that anyone else can answer for you. It's only
What?
something that it's only something that you can answer for yourself. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think that um I agree with, being radically honest, but I think it's being radically honest with yourself. Yeah,
Mm. Not with
it doesn't
other
mean you're gonna.
people, with
No,
yourself,
no, no.
bro.
It
Yeah.
doesn't mean you lie to other people.
Right,
Like you
right,
ask
right.
me a question, you're like, "Hey, David, you ask me some personal question." I could say, "Yeah, I don't feel like sharing that." Am I not
Yeah.
being authentic?
No, of course. Yeah,
No.
you don't
In
want to
fact, I
show
would.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd say I am being authentic because in that moment, I didn't feel like sharing that, and that's okay. I was being true to myself. And sometimes being authentic is setting a boundary for yourself, and just saying, yeah, you know what, I'm not going to do that, or I am going to do this,
Whoa, setting boundaries for yourself is authenticity. Bro, I got so many video ideas. The five samurai. We're going to increase our followers with this knowledge right here. Authenticity, wow, is about self boundaries. Wow.
I think that's definitely part of it. I think there's a lot of pieces to it, but I agree with what the gentleman you interviewed said about, being honest, but yeah, sure, being honest with other people, absolutely. Hopefully, if you're honest with other people, you're first honest with yourself. I would like to think that comes afterwards. So maybe he was right in being completely transparent and honest.
Yeah, check this
You
out.
are authentic.
Yeah, one of the viewers said, "But wouldn't true authenticity be absolute? In other words, 100%. To me, radical honesty makes sense." Interesting.
Well, it's kind of like what you said about, how would you say about being 70% authentic or no, you said something about someone faking authenticity. I was like, you can't fake authenticity. You're either authentic or you're not. It's, yeah, maybe there is a bit of a spectrum or some nuance there, but I think you're authentic or you're not, for the most part. It's an interesting question,
Another commentator says, putting it in simple terms, you are the reflection of who you think you are. Wow. You are the reflection of who you think you are.
I think of it too as like you're accepting the consequences of being yourself. Like you accept whether people accept me or they reject me, but you continue as yourself.
Yeah. It's knowing yourself and staying true to that. Regardless of what other people tell you
against the world kind of thing.
What's that?
Even if it's just you against the world kind of idea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What does it profit a man to gain the world but lose his soul? I don't know.
Damn. You read a lot of books.
Bro, how did you become like this, bro? Just from that period where you were like on heartbreak? You were heartbreak and hey, actually, tell me something about
catalyst?
What is it? The heartbreak or is it there's two things. Either it's the heartbreak or it could be a combination. It's the heartbreak and also, bro, this dude is an athlete and he said, we missed this part, Cisco. He said, I felt washed up as an athlete at that young age. Think about how that feels, bro. I can't even imagine.
Self-image is very...
The self-image. Tell us about that, David. Because I'm not an athlete, right? I mean, I was on my swimming team, but it was just, it wasn't like serious.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you're involved with sport or with fitness, there's definitely your self-image is wrapped up in that big time. And that's something that a lot of athletes, I wouldn't say I really struggled with that leaving the sport of bobsleigh is like, you have this identity crisis of who am I now? I don't feel like I struggle with that. I know a lot of people do, but it's easy, especially as a coach in the fitness industry, to get caught up with that. That's, needing to look a certain way or be a certain way. It's funny. I just had someone recently ask me, they're like, cause I before bobsleigh, I was probably, I don't know, call it 180 pounds. I was super lean. And my diet was very clean, all that kind of stuff. When I got into the sport of bobsled, I had to put on about 35 pounds, because they want you to be heavy. So, with that, no more abs, none of that kind of stuff. And so that self-image that I kind of had attached to was gone. And people were like, oh, well, I had an excuse for it. So, oh, well, why'd you, what's going on? I have to put on weight for bobsleigh, and I didn't really care because that was like a new sense of purpose for me, a new mission that I was on. So I didn't really care. And quite frankly, I was like, I know how to lose the weight if I want to, so I will. Yeah. But then over time, I got out of the sport and I'm still or maybe around 200 pounds. It's sitting on my frame differently. So I'm not necessarily upset about it. I'm stronger than I've ever been and all that kind of stuff. But it's funny. I had someone ask me, they're like, hey, you're a coach, you're a trainer. Like, why aren't you as lean as what you used to be? I was like, I don't know. Cause it's an interesting question. Cause I was like, I in that moment, I was like, because I don't attach my worth to it anymore. It doesn't matter to me. I feel healthy the way I am. I know maybe that insulted him because he does, and I think when he asked me that because he's very much into that. But and then but it was just kind of the first thing that came to mind.
You're like, I'm more aware than you now, bro. I know I don't have to attach.
His mind is like, you don't want to be lean? What the fuck?
Exactly, because he's attached to that identity, and you've moved beyond those attachments, brother. You know, and he feels that. He's like, what?
Yeah.
What? Like he feels triggered by that. Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, and I mean, I think there would have been a time like if I was first in the sport, when I like gotten, you know, heavier and stuff like that, and if someone would have asked me that, I would have felt very self-conscious. I would have been like, oh my God, like you know, you pulling your shirt down and stuff like that. But when he said that, I felt super unfazed. I felt authentic. I felt like I just felt true to myself, and I felt very at home within myself. I had no one to please. I felt very, I don't even want to say confident. I think confident I just felt very whole at that point. And when he asked me, and it is what, I don't really care. It's not a priority to me right now. I go to the gym to get healthy. I like living a balanced lifestyle. And he's talking to me like I'm obese or something like that, you know? So I'm like, Jesus, do I look that bad?
Interesting. Bro, so this has been amazing. Vibe Session 111. We're already at the 90-minute mark, and so we got to close up soon. We got to, you know, be cognizant of your time as well, David. But David, I wanted to end the final segment talking about the video where you said you learned your most important lesson when your dad passed away. Can you just share the whole story from that video and then tell us what the most important lesson is, and then we'll close it out like that. Let's go.
Yeah, so my dad passed away in 2020, and I remember it was the day before he passed away. It was during COVID, so I was fortunate enough to be down. I live in Calgary, Alberta. They live in a smaller city, a few hours away. So during COVID, you know, the gym was shut down here at the start. So I just went down to be with my parents, and I didn't realize what a blessing that was at the time, because, you know, I got to spend the last days or, you know, weeks that my dad was around with him. And I remember we started watching Ozark, and we just kind of watch it in the evenings or whatever. And I remember at that point in time, I was kind of starting to get it more into like, oh, maybe I want to create more content and start up this whole thing. So I was doing some stuff online one evening, and my dad came down, and he was like, he just asked me what I was doing. And I knew that him asking me meant he wanted to watch Ozark. He wanted to, he wanted to watch Ozark together, but he didn't want to impose because he knew I was doing something. So he's just like, oh, I think he asked me, he said, are you going to be down here for a while? I was like, yeah, I will be. He's like, okay, well, I'm going to go watch the news or do something else or whatever. And in that moment, I felt like, I felt kind of bad because, you know, I didn't like, it's quality time with my dad that I wasn't getting, but I was like, whatever, I can do it another time. Well, the next day, he passed away. He had an aneurysm, and I mean, that looking back, it was something that, I mean, there's so many lessons from loss. I think losing someone close to you, whether that's, you know, a breakup or whether that is the death of a loved one or a pet or anything like that, you learn so much about life, about yourself. And that hardship is definitely a catalyst for going within yourself if you choose to use it. It's just because the gift is given doesn't mean you take it. You know, it's all in the way that a person uses that. And I know someone that they had passing happen in their life, and it destroyed them. Like their life was never the same in a very, like they crumbled them, and it caused them a lot of mental health problems for the rest of their life. And I didn't want that to happen for me. And I knew it could if I didn't look at this in a mindful and intentional way of what can I learn from this? How can I not push it away? Because it's that delicate balance of letting it happen, letting the pain be there, being there with it, processing it, not pushing it away, not distracting yourself, whatever it is. And I mean, there's things that I definitely would have done differently, but yeah, I mean, a huge lesson I learned that day from looking back on that is like, you just, no day's guaranteed. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And yeah, I mean, you don't want to live life with regrets. So, yeah, like if today was your last day, how would you live it? What would you do? If it was someone else's last day of someone that you love, what would you do? Would you take on some trivial task? I mean, I probably wouldn't. And that's definitely changed the way that I live my life moving forward. Is I look at things differently. Like, what is the real priority here? But again, it goes back to what a person wants out of life, what's most important to them, and then living from that place, because I think that will lead you to that meaningful, authentic, fulfilling, purposeful life,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cisco, holy shit, this was the best
That was
vibe
like
session.
a warrior philosopher combo. Yeah, it's like
You guys, and Superman, Canadian Superman, not USA
Yeah,
Superman.
right.
Wow, that was amazing.
incredible.
Hey, David, one final question. So if someone's listening tonight and they feel completely lost, what's the one thing you want them to remember before they go to sleep?
No, they feel completely lost. I mean, so many things. I would say, like, learn to connect with yourself through breath. Like, breathing it's the simplest thing. It's the foundation for your life, but it's also the most powerful thing that you can learn to get in touch with: breath and awareness. And through that, you begin to connect with who you really are, beyond the thoughts that are telling you you're not enough, or the fears, or the emotions, or whatever it is. And that's where you start to gain insight into where to go next. That breath, that awareness is like a candle in the darkness.
Wow.
Wow, let's end with that. On the mic drop, David. Hey, David, that was amazing. I think you were our best guest ever. But you were amazing, bro. It was so nice to meet you. I love your vibes. You're doing such great work. Guys, please follow this guy. He's amazing. Visit his page. Check out his story. He's a coach. He's going to get you straight. He's going to make your mind clear. Come on, guys. But David, thank you very much. All right.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. It's been an honor.
It was awesome. All right, guys. Good night. I'll see you next time. Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Vibe Sesh.